Have you gotten all your Spider-Boy keys? How about Lady Danger, Agent of Booty? Are we still on the Tosin bandwagon? And who's Wonder Woman's kid and who's the baby daddy? I don't know. Are you wrapped up in FOMO? Let's take a look at how FOMO affects the market and how it's changed over the last 2 years up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, panelologists. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, like, comment, subscribe, yada, yada, yada. You know what to do. Hit us up on Instagram at Bronzeville_comics and whatnot at Bronzeville_comics. We do sales every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Just bought a new collection. We're going to have some good stuff coming to the whatnot. And also, there is a link in the description of this video. If you're not yet on Whatnot, you get $10 off your first purchase if you click on that link and sign up through there. Doesn't even have to be with me. Also, in the description of this video is a link to my eBay store and to my email. Reach out to me with any questions. So, we're in kind of the post-comic boom period, and there's still a lot of FOMO. Especially with new releases, and we saw it recently with Free Comic Book Day. Free Comic Book Day for the last couple of years has been kind of a feeding frenzy as collectors look to pick up a lot of stuff with hopes that they're going to find the next gem of a comic book. And that's a whole different discussion, because if you look at Free Comic Book Days from 10 years ago, people weren't really collecting them. They were free, they kind of threw them around. They weren't saved and preserved to the same extent that books are today. And pretty much every store had multiple people going in and picking up copies of whatever the hot free comic book is. It was that Spider-Man book. And there are plenty of them out there. That's the thing to remember. In addition, we have, these variant covers and ratio variants and what's the hot new book? The Spider-Boy in Spider-Man number 7 was the hot book for a while. And next week it'll be something else. And history kind of tends to show us that more often than not, these don't pan out. Now, I think the main thing to keep in mind with anything with comic collecting is collect what you want. People collect different things. I know when I sell books, like on Whatnot, and it shows on eBay, there are people that are looking for very specific niche things. And then because if you collect what you like, when you look at your collection, you can be like, oh God, why do I have this thing in my collection? And we've had so many books over the last couple of years that what happens, especially with indie books, when they're optioned, which means there's a possibility, not even likelihood, that they will be coming to the screen. And, things like Oblivion Song and Shadecraft and Berserker and what was that? Mom? Is that the full title of the Amelia? It was Amelia Clark, right? People went crazy for that. Now, if it does hit, then maybe it's popular, or maybe it's Paper Girls, right? Something that doesn't even that finishes a season, doesn't wrap up the story, and is gone. Or Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth went crazy. It's getting 2 more seasons. Hit a little bit of a bump again recently. Season 2 was released. And I don't know how many of these books have long-term possibilities. Everybody's looking for the next Ultimate Fallout 4. The next Miles Morales. Doesn't come along that often. And the rarity, or the scarcity, I think rarity is a little bit of an overused term. The supply and demand has a lot to do with it. If it's books that aren't, that weren't ordered a lot in their initial release, then they tend to become more popular in the back issue market because they're harder to find. And one of the main cautions graded modern books. Oh, here's another, and this is actually a book I actually still like. Never bought it at its height. Naomi. TV series went nowhere, but characters still around. I always think of Amazing Spider-Man 361, first appearance of Carnage, when I think of this. Announced for a movie. Pandemic's going on. People are sorting through their books, and people are finding Amazing Spider-Man 361 because there are a lot of them out there. It was Amazing Spider-Man, which was one of the leading titles in terms of sales at the time. People that bought it at the time, a lot of them collected, which means they took care of the books, so they tend to still be in high grade. And then the news hit. It's going to be in a movie. Trailer hits. And you're talking right at the peak of the comic boom. Like that, as we're just hitting that upslope of the comic boom. Prices go bananas. As a matter of fact, I picked up 2 copies in a collection the day the trailer hit. And I'm like, oh, let me get these graded. I think, and it was a second print that came back at like a 9.2. I think the first print was either 9.4 or 9.6. 9.2 I used as a giveaway. It was because I got it back well after the movie had come and gone. But I think the lesson to be learned here is I bought it was a VG Plus copy at an antique store that summer of 2021. Movie comes out, put it on eBay. I bought it for like $4 or $8. Sold it for I think $84 the weekend the movie came out. A VG raw copy. That was what FOMO was doing with the market. The point being is, something like Amazing Spider-Man 361, there are plenty of high-grade copies out there. And what happened is, leading up to the movie, there was a demand for the book. Is a popular character in the comics. He had been teased in the first Venom movie, being played by Woody Harrelson, a phenomenal actor, multiple Academy Award nominee. And so there's a lot of hype built around it. Then people are taking their raw copies and submitting them to CGC, but CGC is so backlogged that they're sitting at CGC. Hundreds and hundreds of copies, I'm sure, were sitting at CGC waiting to get graded. The movie comes out. And those books are still waiting at CGC, like the 2 that I had. And all of a sudden their value, while they're sitting at CGC, starts crashing. And by the time I get my books back and other people get their books back, now the supply of high-grade slabs of Amazing Spider-Man 361 has increased, and the demand for the book has decreased. Simple economics, the price goes down. Now, we've kind of seen an entire correction. The global economy, inflation, all that has a big effect. But there are so many titles out there. So I think there are three different areas of speculation. There is the independent books, which may be optioned, maybe the next Walking Dead, or Something is Killing the Children. I think if that's done properly, that it could have a good chance of picking up the values of those books. And remember, that book came out before the pandemic, came out before the boom. There are a decent number of copies out there, but it wasn't selling like Amazing Spider-Man in the 90s. So if the demand increases and the supply is going to remain fairly constant, it will, there's people finding copies of the book. There's still plenty of ungraded copies in circulation of first print that are potential 9.8s. Supply and demand. If the show's done well, possibly the demand will outpace the supply and the price will go up. So that's the independent books, and there are a lot of them, right? Option news all the time. Then there's the other two big ones. There's the MCU spec and the DCU spec. We went crazy. The Mephisto tale, all Omega Red, Adam Legend of the Blue Marble, all the characters that we thought we were going to see, like in WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we didn't. But people keep saying, well, maybe we'll see this character here. Maybe we'll see this character here. And I will say this. I think my area of spec right now is in older books, copper, bronze, affordable, that still have some value, to find them on the cheap, and that I think can increase in value. A few for me. Shade the Changing Man, #1. I'll pick that book up when I ever see it in nice condition, right? Because it's a pretty cool book. I had the whole run from when I was a kid. I picked it up at comic shows, in the late 70s and 80s. If I see it for under $10, I'll probably grab it, because it's not necessarily a FOMO book. Like that area of speculation, when you pick up older books, it's not necessarily a FOMO book, because I don't think the value is going to drop from where it is right now. And if you can pick up stuff in dollar bins, how many dollar bin copies of, was it Fantastic Four 358, first appearance of Pybok the Power Scroll, have I picked up? It's kind of been a running joke I have with 360 Comics, Joe and I. You see it in a dollar bin or $2 or whatever, pick it up. If we see Pybok in Secret Invasion, yay. If not, it's still a minor key. The other one I try to pick up is Action 521, the first appearance of Vixen. I think that's a character eventually we're going to see. So speculation that is low risk, low value. It's not going to clog up your bank account. Then there's speculation that's, I would say, medium risk, high value. Characters that you think might be coming to properties because of their kind of unique qualities. Characters, let's say on the Marvel side, one character that people speculated on and has not yet panned out is Brother Voodoo. Are we going to see Brother Voodoo in the future? Who knows? Legion of Monsters. See something like that. Those are high value books. For DC, three of the books I've been going after recently are Strange Adventures 205, first appearance of Deadman, Hawkman 4, first appearance of Zatanna, and Strange Adventures 180, the first appearance of Animal Man. I picked up some Booster Gold keys. I picked up a lot of Blue Beetle keys. But those are also books that I like and I want to have in my collection. So even though I'm, let's say, specking on Deadman, pick up Strange Adventures 205, I'm still going to keep the highest grade for my personal collection. Maybe if it skyrockets the value, I'll throw it out and then try to get it back later on. So, what you have to do is be careful and thoughtful in what you're buying. And is the value of the book well outpaced with its historical value? Is it still going to have value in the future? And do you think the value is going to continue to increase from where it is now? When I started doing this whole YouTube thing and really kind of got heavily back in the hobby a couple of years ago, I was watching videos like Very Gary and Comic Tom and things like that, and people are doing top 10 lists all the time. Here's the rule. If it's on the top 10 list, don't buy it. It's too late. Those are the books that are spiking in value. And look at where, look at eBay sold listings. See what it was selling for 2 weeks ago or a month ago. If you're well ahead of that value, might not be the wisest time to buy. And of course, there's a part of our brain that I want this. I see that other people have it. People are talking about it. That's a cool book. I want it in my collection. Yeah, and then you have the first appearance of Kamala Khan. That book skyrocketed. Let's come back down to earth. America Chavez. Vengeance 1, right? Skyrocket, come back down to earth. What is the value going to be long term? And that's where you really have to make your own decisions of what you're going to buy. I also have been trying to collect, and if I can, multiple copies, because I'm like, oh, this might be a better copy than the one I have. But not going overboard with it, is first appearances of members of the Legion of Superheroes. I don't know if they'll bring them to the DCU at some point, but I enjoy the characters. Their early Silver Age first appearances for the most part. Those are ones I like to collect. And if it takes off, it takes off. That's great. If I have multiple copies and it takes off, I could sell the undercopies and hobby funding itself, hopefully break even. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. What is your worst FOMO buy, right? And what was a FOMO buy that paid off for you? Sometimes we get FOMO buys that actually do increase in value. I bought a ton of copies of the first Infinite Crisis 3 and 5. The first appearance of Jaime Reyes by himself and the first appearance of him as Blue Beetle. That's paid off. I've done well with that. First appearance of Bloodsport in Superman 4. Got copies of that. Sold some of them. That spec paid off. But again, once it's already been out there, not the time to pick it up, at least for fair market value. If you find it in somebody's bin that isn't aware of the news, great. But make sure you do your homework and look at the historical values. So leave that in the comments below, your worst FOMO buy and a FOMO buy that worked out for you. In the meantime, you can take a look at a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.